Anyway, so I want to go back to yesterday's testimony in regards to what's his name, Jarion Shepherd, and highlight the part that that I thought had tanked the case, or he had basically tanked the case. So it was in the beginning of the cross-examination. Let's watch.
My name is Don Samuel. I don't believe we've ever met before.
I've met you in passing before.
This is the second one to say that. You joined the cold case squad in 2020, did I get that right?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. And when did you pick up Calhoun's reports and start looking at this case?
2021.
Okay. So in 2021, we are essentially 23 years after, for example, the first thing you testified about, I think, was the July TPO, right?
Correct.
Okay. Obviously, you weren't there then. You didn't have, contemporaneous evidence of what happened on that day, right? You didn't interview any of the witnesses.
That's correct.
That led to the TPO, correct?
Correct.
And when I say TPO, I'm talking about a temporary protective order.
That's correct.
And you introduced some exhibits this morning. Yes, this morning, dealing with that TPO, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So what you learned from reading Calhoun's reports and what led you to think the TPO was important was that there was an argument, correct? There was a dispute?
Yes, there was a physical dispute that resulted in Melissa Wolfenbarger's injuries.
It resulted in?
Her injuries?
Okay. Did you interview someone named Perone who was involved in that?
No, I never got a chance to interview Ms. Perone.
Okay. And did you talk to the law enforcement officer who went to the scene, whose name is Sutton, I believe?
No, every officer during that time, by the time I received the case, pretty much retired. But I was referring to his actual police reports that were documented.
Well, he came here. It wasn't that hard to find him. He came here and testified. Did you ever talk to him?
No, sir, I never was able to talk to officers.
Were you aware that he said he never saw any bruises on her back?
The only thing I had to refer to is it wasn't the actual police report that he documented when the incident occurred.
Right. Well, he didn't document what he saw. And when he testified, he said, I didn't lift up her shirt or look at anything on her back. I didn't see any. In fact, he said she had some bruises on her legs.
To counsel testifying.
I'm cross-examining him.
Yeah, I'm gonna overrule the objection.
I have no direct knowledge to his testimony when he testified in here.
So if in fact his testimony is different than what you said this morning, obviously you don't question his credibility when he came here and testified under oath.
I think Officer Sutton will have to be the one to speak on that. As far as his credibility, I can refer to the documents that were documented in the official police report.
Okay. And do you know from the official police report whether the officer or anybody interviewed Mr. Wolfenbarger that night?
Not sure. I don't have any reports that stating that either.
Or Mr. Perone that night?
There are no police reports that's documenting that.
Okay. So you have Sutton's police report, which is inconsistent with the testimony he gave to the jury, and that's it as far as what led to the temporary protective order.
Again, I can't testify to Officer Sutton's testimony that he testified in here. Only thing I have to go by is what he documented in his police report.
Okay. All right. Now, as a result of whatever happened that day in July something like 22nd, right, 1998, Ms. Wolfenbarger was encouraged to take out a TPO, correct?
Yes, after she was assaulted and dragged by Christopher Wolfenbarger and received the injuries. Usually when there's a domestic dispute, we always refer to the victim in that domestic. That's an option that they can go and seek as a temporary protective order for further protection.
Can I ask you to do me a favor?
Yes,
when
sir.
I ask you a question, you can answer yes or no. Okay?
Cool? Okay.
All right?
Yes, sir.
If you think it's a deceptive answer and you need to explain it, that's fine. But, you don't know what happened that night. You just know what's in the police report, right?
Correct. The only thing I know is what's documented in the police report.
Okay. By the way, did you even try to find Officer Sutton?
I have the official police reports that I can refer to, and that's usually what happens. A lot of cold cases, we don't reach out to those the officers that officially responded to the first scene. We go by the police reports.
Okay. So at any rate, it was customary to refer Ms. Wolfenbarger to get a TPO, correct? A temporary protective order.
Yes, sir. Anytime there's a domestic dispute and the victim of that domestic dispute.
Sir, I just asked you a yes/no question. She was referred to get a TPO, correct?
Yes, she was correct.
You want to make a speech every time I ask you a question, or just say yes or no if you can, all right?
Are you asking me, sir?
Not really. So she takes out a TPO on what day?
We have to refer to the actual document again if we want to get the exact date.
Things are getting zesty. Fast forward it a little bit.
Do you have the date that the TPO is taken out?
As soon as I find a TPO, I can give you the exact date. It looks like it was July 2nd, 1998. July 22nd, I'm sorry.
22nd, okay.
Correct.
And then what a TPO does is, that's just ask the court to set down a hearing, correct?
But TPO is, again, another form of documentation along with the police report where they documented through the court that this person that's filing the TPO needs protection from the person that they're trying to get protection from.
Right, but it has to be followed very quickly by a court hearing, correct?
Well, that depends on the court.
Okay.
But once it's filed and it's enacted, the person, we have a court hearing, they're served, and at that point they're served with that temporary protective order. They have strict orders not to violate that temporary protective order.
How long did the TPO in this case exist before they went to court for the first time?
Do you have the documents? Okay.
This guy, I know he's trying to be smart, but he
Was
just
dismissed on July 29th, 1998,
So about 1 week later, correct?
according to the documents. That's correct.
You have the rule nisi there?
I do.
Okay, rule nisi is just a Latin term that lawyers use to say, come to court, right? Show cause, come to court,
Okay.
right?
I don't speak Latin, but I'm assuming if you're saying that, that's correct.
I appreciate your confidence in me. So they go to court and the TPO is dismissed, correct?
That is correct.
And that doesn't happen without a judge sitting on the bench, correct?
Correct, and usually when it's dismissed, one of the parties are not showing up. Just like when any court case, when the party doesn't show up, it's dismissed.
But everybody's here for this. For the TPO dismissal, everybody's in court.
Okay.
And in fact, were you aware from talking to people that the judge encouraged them to talk to each other? They talked to each other, and then the judge dismissed the TPO.
I'm not surprised in court hearings.
I didn't ask if you were surprised. I asked, are you aware that that's what happened?
I'm not aware.
Well, did you ever interview anybody about what happened in that court proceeding?
It's pertaining to the TPO?
Yes.
No, sir. The TPO is not related. It's not part of my murder investigation. It documents of first form of interaction that documents the domestic violence between Christopher Wolfenbarger and Melissa. As far as a homicide investigation, it's not relevant going to the homicide. So there was no reason for you to follow up for it pertaining to this domestic.
So we went through all the interviews. Sorry, not the interviews. We went through all the questioning that was done. Just to that, and he was saying it's very important to go through the report. It's very important to go through, to not rely on, like it doesn't matter what Officer Sutton testified to. That is the report that they're relying on for the investigation, because it's very relevant for the case. That because they take every victim's testimony seriously. And now because he didn't follow up and try to find out more information, he says that a TPO is not really important. That is not important for the homicide investigation that they're doing because they wouldn't need to follow up. They wouldn't need to follow up because the TPO is not important for the homicide investigation. That was important for the homicide investigation is trying to figure out the murder. So the TPO and the violence is not important.
Are you saying that all the domestic things involved in July 1998 has nothing to do with the investigation of the homicide?
The July 1998 incident is very critical, and it documents and it landmarks a tumultuous relationship between Christopher and Melissa. So it is very important.
So you didn't follow up. Why didn't you follow
You just
up?
said it's not relevant. I'm confused between your last two answers. You said you didn't follow up anything about the background of it, anything about what happened in court, anything about any of that, because it's not relevant to the homicide, but then you say it's the landmark most important thing.
That is correct. So when you document an incident domestic, it's documented. It's a homicide investigation. We continue with our homicide investigation. We have reliability when we refer to the police reports, which is official documents. That's documented in time. There's no need for me to follow up on the domestic side because we have it clearly documented in the police reports. My investigation continues from the homicide on.
So it's not important.
You don't disagree, though, that even the documents show that the judge approved the dismissal of the TPO. The judge signs it.
And these are legal documents, and I definitely approve of it.
Okay.